They want to keep you poor because poor people make rich people richer. My name is Darius.
And I'm Carmen. I am thrilled to go through the topics that we have to share with you today because I feel like if we knew some of these things just a little bit sooner, it probably would have changed maybe what we started thinking about money, and we may have made some changes sooner. But we made changes when we were supposed to. So that's why we want to start putting these nuggets in your ear right now so that we can maybe help motivate you to do something else when it comes to your money.
Right. Because what we want to talk about today is just some of the biggest money myths that we've heard throughout our personal journey, and how those things are really keeping you where you don't want to be financially.
Yeah. So I think let's just dive into it. Are you guys ready? Point number 1, you don't earn enough to save any money.
Have you ever said that I don't earn enough money to save? That is a huge myth. No matter how much money you earn, you should be putting money aside for savings, even if it's at the bare minimum, the match of what your company offers you in a retirement account. So if they offer 3%, then you should be matching 3%. That's saving. So you have enough money to save. And I think what it is I think a lot of times people see when they get their money, they feel like they need to make all their bill payments first, and then they don't see anything afterwards. So they say, I don't have enough. And plus, this isn't even enough for me to really pay my bills. So how am I going to save if I don't even have enough money to barely pay my bills?
Well, that's the misconception. And then that's actually what it is because we lived that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We looked through the point where we were like, we don't have any money to save. But really, it's the misconception of you not understanding how the money game works. And how the money game works is you should always pay yourself first because you are the one who is working. You are the one who is making the bills get paid in the first place. So you owe yourself a wage before anyone else gets paid. And so once we start to kind of understand that concept and that notion and start executing it, it changes things. And then you start realizing how to prioritize your finances and how to ensure that you're also not overspending, because that could be another thing. I can't save money because it costs me too much to live. Well, maybe you need to reallocate some of those funds so that you can prioritize yourself and pay yourself first, and then everything else comes later. So it's kind of like the oxygen mask theory on the plane. You have to put your oxygen mask on before first you can help someone else. That's the same thing that you have to do with your finances. You got to cover your butt first before you try to spend any money with anyone else.
Right. Now, we were in a similar position, just like you said, and I found one of the things that helped us is when we started managing our funds and we started seeing results in our savings from us saving first or paying ourselves first. Then what we started to do is we started to find more money that we were spending on stuff like Starbucks or stuff that wasn't serving us when we were spending frivolously. And
there was no intention.
There was no intention. But once we started managing our funds and looking at our statements and comparing our income, our debt to income ratios and things of that nature, we started finding other ways of saving money, and we didn't make any additional funds. We just managed the money that we had a lot better. Yeah. So when you say you don't make enough money to save, it may be the fact that you're not managing your funds, or you could be managing your funds a little better so that you can pay yourself first.
And if you want to join a community of like-minded individuals who are all about leveling up their finances, increasing their financial literacy, and not only saving money, but investing and controlling your income, then definitely click on the link below. We would love to serve you at the Wealth Nation.
Right.
So anything else you want to add to this point?
No.
All right, let's move on.
Another myth that we hear quite often is, I don't need an emergency fund because I have credit cards. That is a huge way to make rich people richer, because when you have credit cards for an emergency comes up and you don't have enough money to pay for that said emergency, you go into debt for it on the credit cards, and you still can't pay the credit cards back, so you end up paying monthly payments. Yeah. Over a long period of time. So that's principal and interest that you're paying. So you end up paying more than what the original emergency cost you.
What a concept.
Right.
And we did that. We literally saved one of our cards that had a balance of $10,000, and we were like, this is going to be our emergency fund. So if things happen, we're going to put it all on this credit card. And we thought that was a genius idea.
And when it did, we couldn't afford to make the payments.
Yeah.
We could afford to make the payments. We couldn't afford to pay it off.
Yeah, we couldn't pay it off in full. It was
Right.
just, all right, well, now this emergency, we're going to make monthly payments on the emergency. And again, we thought that we was doing something. We thought that was innovative.
Right.
Until we understood how much we were paying in interest and how much it was costing us and how irresponsible isn't the right word. It's not like we were just being like making it rain everywhere, but we just were unaware. I'd say ignorant, just ignorant to understanding how to manage our finances, how to save, how to prioritize ourselves first so that we weren't relying on a credit card to bail us out.
Right. Now, the banks aren't going to tell you not to do this. The reason why is because whenever you have a balance on your credit card, you're going to be paying principal and interest is what increases their bottom line.
Yeah.
So why would any third party financial institution tell you something that is going to affect their bottom line? So what we have to do is we have to really think about some of the positions that we're putting ourselves personally in financially when we make decisions like this, or when we start thinking a certain way to use some of the tools and services that are offered to us. Mm-hmm. We need to think about how much it's costing us.
Yeah. And what I want to do is link our previous video that we've done here, which is about the laws of money, because that is really something that we want you to get along with these points that we're talking about today. And it's all about not losing money.
Right.
So that goes to the third point, which is carrying a small balance on your credit cards over every month to boost your credit score. Mm-hmm. So this is twofold. First of all, we don't ever recommend that you carry a balance over with your credit cards. One, because that thing that we were just talking about, losing money.
Interest.
Stop paying principal and interest when you don't have to. And I think the other notion too is having that small balance so that you can boost your credit score. It just goes back again to who is telling you that you need to boost your credit score. Why are they telling you that you need to boost your credit score? And going back to all of those things. So Nelson Nash always talks about the fox guarding the hen house. And we look at your credit score as kind of one of those things where the banks are telling you need to do X, Y, Z to get good credit. But really, what does that do at the end of the day? It helps line the bank's pockets, get their money back as soon as possible, quicker. And now next thing you know, you have no liquidity and no money to save or no money to invest because you've paid it all back to the banks all the time.
Right. The banks just want to make sure that they have a good understanding of who can pay them back their money the best.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that report card is for, the credit report. It's a credit report card.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I don't want you all to misunderstand the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not saying don't pay your credit off, but I'm saying in the fact of just understand the game, understand how it's played, and it is going to be okay if it's going to take you time to get to this process, but just understand the purpose of the credit score.
Right.
So that you can not be a pawn, but you can be a player in the game, and how you can leverage the credit score to your benefit, not necessarily to theirs.
Right. And when you manage your credit card debt down to 0%, we're not saying to cancel your credit cards. We're just saying don't pay interest. And by not paying interest, you're going to increase your credit score by default because you don't have a large balance on your credit cards. Mm-hmm. So I understand for some people your credit score is everything, but your credit score is only a show to the banks that you can borrow money and pay it back in a timely manner. Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of breezing through these things. So just with the three that we talked about, the commonalities, we want you to comment below and let us know what you feel like the commonalities are between these points. So the very first point we said, I don't have enough money to save, mm-hmm. Or I'm not earning enough money to save, excuse me. The second point is I'm going to use my emergency fund in the form of credit cards. And the third point is I'm going to carry a small balance over so that I can have a good credit score.
Now, just with those 3 points, the commonality is the fact that we have the money, but we're paying it in the form of interest to somebody else, which we aren't able to see the benefits of it. We're not able to benefit from it.
So the commonality in my point, remember we said we don't have enough money to save, mm-hmm. right? So we don't have the money.
Right.
Number two is I'm going to use the money in the form of credit cards. We still don't have the money because we're mm-hmm. giving it up. And the third is I'm going to carry a small balance over. We still don't have the money, but we're going to give the bank whatever we have.
Right.
So going back to, again, who has your money? When you wake up every day, you should ask that question, who has my money? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have your money, then you should try to figure out how to go get your money.
Yeah. And the person that has your money 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10 has more money than you do. So How
about that?
We're still giving up money to somebody that has more money than we do.
And then letting them tell us what to do with their money.
And then let them tell us what to do with their money. Exactly.
Go figure. But we do it.
It happens because of how we were programmed up until this point, or the things that we've consumed up until this point. Because I know for me, I learned about money through my parents. And my parents learned about money from their parents. And if anybody in that line has had bad experiences with money, then their children are going to inherit those bad habits.
Yes.
Just by default.
Yeah, and you can't ever play victim role and be like, well, I didn't know, because you didn't take the time to learn and to truly educate yourself on what you can do to get out of that programming or to improve your situation.
And the thing is, it's so deeply rooted because they didn't have internet. Matter of fact, when I was younger, we had to go to like computer labs and things.
You had to go to a computer lab?
Yeah, in college, had to go to computer labs. So even prior to that, when I think about
library, you had to do a report.
Junior high school, we didn't have the same amount of access to information that we do now.
No, not at all. And even as adults, you know how quickly you can just pull up Google on your supercomputer, aka your cell phone, and get the answers that you need, and then be brought right up to YouTube University, where you can learn everything that you need to get the products and services that you're seeking.
Right. Yeah, we don't even have to pull up our cell phone. We can just ask Siri, and Siri will give us the answer.
It is true. All right. So the commonalities, like we said, is at the end of the day, it seems like either we're not in control of our money or we're quick to give up our money to someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So let's keep it rolling.
Now, the next myth that you may find near and dear to your heart is the fact that a lot of times people say buying a home is better than renting.
You're throwing your money out the window when you rent.
Yeah. But here's the thing. When you buy a home, the average person moves every 5 to 7 years. Mm-hmm. Even I'm talking about people that buy a home.
Yes. No, I'm with you.
So in certain situations, it may make more sense if you're going to be mobile to have a rental property, so that it's not as hard for you to move when that time comes. Especially if you're young and you're early in your career, you may not be where you're going to be forever. So it may not make sense for you to buy a home and have to worry about all the additional expenses that come with buying a home, like lawn care. If something was to go wrong in the furnace, there's a lot of upkeep when it comes to owning a home that we didn't take into consideration when we bought our first home.
No. And I think too is just the statement itself, buying a home is better than renting. You know, we all have heard that statement, and without understanding the context of it, we just buy a home because buying a home is better than renting.
Or because interest rates are super low. So I'm going to buy a home.
Yeah. But again, that's a good point. So, but
before I'm ready,
do we understand the context? Just because the interest rates are low, or just because someone said you need to buy a home because renting, you're just throwing your money away. Do you truly understand the context? And also, do you have clarity on your lifestyle? Because your lifestyle may not make sense for you to buy a home because, like Darius said, you may be more transient. You may be in a situation where you're not going to plan on living in a particular city for 10 years. You know, and if that's the case, it doesn't make sense for you to buy a home. In fact, you're actually throwing your money away when you buy a home in that instance, because all of your money is going to interest within the first 5 years of that mortgage being intact. So again, you have to understand the concepts in which people are talking about, because these days we're not living like our parents. We're not buying our forever homes. And for our parents, it made sense to buy a house because they bought their house and they sat there forever. Your parents still live in the house that you grew up in.
Yeah, they were there before I was born.
Yeah, my mom has been in her house for 20 years. So it's just different. So you have to, again, understand your lifestyle. Just because somebody is telling you one particular thing it may not make sense for you, is what I'm trying to say. And then also, just again, we always talk about doing the numbers. Do the numbers and figure out what makes sense, because you can pay less in overall cost in renting monthly than your mortgage, because again, we're talking about your monthly payments are going to interest. Now you have all the upkeep. Now you got to furnish it.
HOA.
Now you got to heat it. You got the HOA. Whereas you may have just had a rental payment, one rental payment of whatever that is, and there's no maintenance or upkeep because you just call the handyman and they come downstairs.
Right, and you can go to IKEA for all the furniture.
So understand the context in which people are talking about, and just take the message, digest it, but then also say, what is it that I need right now, and how is this going to make sense for my lifestyle?
Yeah, and another thing that you mentioned again was that one word, interest. Interest will keep you poor. Paying interest will keep you poor, but it would also make somebody else rich. So in the form of our credit cards, in the form of our mortgages, we're paying compound interest. So we're paying compound interest to somebody else so they can earn interest on top of the interest that we're being charged.
Yeah.
Just by carrying the balance on our credit card and what we're being charged in our on our mortgages.
And in all honesty, we've only owned one house that we live in. To be clear, because there are other homes that we have, but they're rental properties.
Right.
They're making money. But the houses that we've lived in, ever since the one house that we purchased for ourselves, we haven't bought another mortgage for ourselves because it just didn't make sense.
We moved like 10 times.
Because we have a transient lifestyle. We're nomads. We don't stick in one place for a long period of time. So it doesn't make sense for us to continue to buy these houses that we don't plan to be in.
Yeah, we went from San Antonio to Houston to Phoenix, Scottsdale. Yeah, it went all over the place. Georgia.
So for us, it doesn't make sense. So you have to figure out, for you, does it make sense?
Yeah. Now, here's another one that I hear quite frequently, and one that I've been hearing since I've been younger, is the fact that it takes money to make money.
No, Lord, don't get me started.
You have to be rich in order to invest.
Well, those are two different ones. It takes money to make money.
Yeah, that's the same premise. You have to have money to invest. It takes money to make money.
Why do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Well, why do you think that? Well, where did that come from? It takes money to make money.
I think it came from the fact that when we research what success is or how to invest, we look at people that have been doing this for a very long time. And what they're doing is they're using money to make more money. So the assumption is the fact that if I want to be like Warren Buffett, I need to have money in order to invest. Or if I want to be like Bill
Rothschilds,
Gates,
the Rothschilds, the Kennedys.
Yeah, I need to have money in order to invest. But the thing is, the reason why that's not the case is because of the age that we live in. We live in an information age where people consume content and pay for content. You don't have to have money in order to create content. There's a lot of people online giving opinions about their experience with a product or service, and they're able to sell the information. And that doesn't cost a thing. There was no overhead for them to create the information in order for somebody to purchase, like courses and things of that nature. But even those people that are successful started out from some place. And it wasn't always the fact that they had money in their family. A lot of people, the top successful people, are first generation wealth.
And so as you're speaking, I'm thinking about just people's backgrounds and upbringings and things like that. And I would even have to say maybe culturally, that's ingrained in us. Because when I think about like my family who didn't grow up in the United States, all they saw was a land of opportunity. And so they didn't have money. So they took literally the shirt off their backs and flipped it and made it work. And so I think it's just, and this is a blanket statement, so don't beat me up in the comments, but it's a blanket statement. The fact of maybe as Americans, sometimes where we come from, our programming, we'll stick it at that as we get jaded and looking at the opportunities that we have right in front of us. Whereas others who come into this country and see the land of opportunity and are able to capitalize on what some people don't capitalize on. I think it's just a matter of you seeing things from a different lens.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because just based on my experience growing up and then the experience that I had traveling, there's two different mentalities that I've noticed in people that are here in the United States and they think that opportunity is going to come to them versus other places where people have to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like they literally have to make it happen in order to get food on the table. Here, we have to make it happen to make sure we pay our cell phone bill.
There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a
difference. Yeah.
And I'm talking, this is also a blanket statement. I'm talking about just the majority of people that have full-time jobs, have benefits, they have health care. What they are looking for are the wants. Mm-hmm. What they think they need is the wants.
Yeah.
And other people, they actually need food, water, and shelter, the basic necessities. They have to fight for that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's just, I think it goes back to the programming and the things that we've been taught and the things that we continue to implement within our day-to-day and our lifestyle. But I think kind of looking through some of this, again, it just goes back to the commonalities of control, lack of money, and always thinking that money is not abundant. Right? Which is something that we never want people to feel like. And that's why we wanted to create this video of just kind of going through these myths, because people tell us this all the time. And someone just told us the other day, it takes money to make money. And we're like, oh, no, why? Because we just, again, we always want everyone to have the information and to know that you have the power to control your lifestyle. And it's never up to your employer. It's never up to your parents. It's never up to your children. You have to take control. And if you don't, then you're going to continue to go into the cycle.
Yeah, all these myths that we talked about, you are 100% in control of, and you have 100% ability to dictate how much you're able to save. You're able to dictate the fact that you're not going to use credit cards. You're going to have an emergency fund instead, so that you don't pay interest. Instead of paying interest, you're going to dictate the fact that you're going to earn interest instead. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to do that and bring that into your life by the way you think. And Absolutely. It's the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundant mindset. Mm. You need to always be thinking abundantly.
Absolutely. So I think the last point, which is near and dear to our heart, is you don't need insurance. And we talk about insurance, we mean life insurance specifically.
Right.
Because we always prioritize all the other insurances, our renter's insurance, our homeowner's insurance, healthcare, vision. You get where I'm going. We always prioritize all of these things, but we never prioritize our life insurance.
When that's the one thing that's guaranteed.
Yep.
It's not guaranteed that we're going to get in a car accident. It's not guaranteed that our cell phone is going to break and we're not going to need,
or we're going to have cavities, or whatever the case may be.
Right. That stuff isn't guaranteed, but what is guaranteed, that you're going to pass away one day. Mm-hmm. You're going to die one day.
Yeah, and also I think this is twofold again for me, is the fact that people don't have life insurance and the lack of education around life insurance. Because we see it all the time in the comments where people are telling us, what they think about whole life, what they think about term and whatnot, and it's just obviously we're pro whole life, but we also understand the other insurances, and so we're able to speak on those accurately. And it's just really unfortunate that we continue to see the public is continuing to be misinformed with these particular products, and they get into products thinking it's going to perform one way when it doesn't. And or it was designed for them one way and it wasn't. So again, it just kind of goes back to, where are you prioritizing the things that are most important, and what education are you getting to make sure you understand these things? Mm-hmm. Because people will tell us all day long how to flip credit cards.
Right.
so that you can, make your balances and keep your ratios, this and that and the other, but they don't have life insurance. So again, where are your priorities?
Or out there gang banging with no life insurance.
It's true. And then that's the life that we live in. And it happens far and far, too many times again. We lose family members, things come up, and just people can't pay their funeral expenses. That the family isn't covered anymore financially, and now another generation is scrambling, trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, you're trying to get your family to come together so that they can pay for those funeral expenses. And funeral expenses are not cheap. They're pretty expensive, even for the basic, basic setup.
Yeah. Basic setup.
Yeah, for the basic setup, it's quite expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is very much so. So, if anything, with these myths, we had 6 myths that we covered today. We want to know, what are the other myths that you all think about, and share it with us in the comments, because again, it's not, we want to clear everyone's conscience. We want to talk about all of these things that are keeping us from getting ahead and all these things that are keeping us poor and keeping us down. And really, at the end of the day, it's just statements that people plant, the seeds that people plant, and these statements stay with us and they keep us from making financial decisions.
Right. And the sad thing about it is the fact that the way you think about money, you're going to pass it on to the next generation. And then it'll be another generation that are getting similar results that you have that you don't want for yourself. So until we face these things, or we start discussing these things in our household, start doing our research, looking up different opportunities, different ways, creative ways, and taking action on those things that we're seeing, we're going to continue to be on the same path.
Yeah, exactly. So what I want you guys to do right now is I want you to click on our next video where we talk about the 2 laws of money.
And remember to own your own lifestyle,
or someone else will.